still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whips that are not in here. So I'm really glad I started the week off by doing that, because that gave me a lot of motivation to go on. And I just over 60 days until they need to be done if I'm going to ship them in time, and I still have about 30 pairs left, so I think I still have about 8 kilos worth of yarn to get through for the Christmas gifts. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, current projects, finished projects, planned projects. Sometimes I talk a bit about yarn, just anything that pops into my head while we sit here and chat. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me this week. I have had a really great week in terms of knitting. I've had a lot of fun with my knitting, and I'm feeling finally like I'm making some progress on all of my whips. So that has been really nice, but I am also feeling some of the lingering effects of the knitting slump. My knitting speed and productivity is not what they were just before the knitting slump, but I am working on just accepting that, because I'm pretty sure that the driving fact of my knitting slump were my very high expectations, unreasonably high a lot of the time, and that I forced myself to go through with them no matter what. So I am really working on changing my mindset when it comes to that, and try to lower my expectations, and then when I don't meet my expectations, trying to be okay with that. It's definitely a work in progress. I'm not very good at it, never been good at it, but I think that's a really important part moving forwards, because I really don't want to be in a knitting slump again. And I just have to keep reminding myself that the most important part with knitting is to have fun, not to produce or do as much as possible. So that's just a loop in my head again and again. But even though I am struggling a little bit with the fact that I'm not as productive as I would like, I have had a really good week in terms of knitting. I know it, that my expectations just don't make sense, but that's something I'll just have to work on. But before I show you all of my whips, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing today. And today I'm wearing, I think it is my #1 sweater of all time. I sometimes think I have other favorites right as I've finished some other knits, but over time it always comes back to this, and I think there's a few reasons for that. I really love the design of this, I really love the color combination, but I think the most important part is how proud I am of this. This felt like a real accomplishment when I knitted, when I started, and when I was planning on knitting this. This is the porcelain sweater, by the way. Here it is. When I got the yarn for this, when I was planning this, when I was putting this off, it felt like an impossible challenge. It just, every part of it I had worked up, built up so much in my head that I just got afraid of the pattern in the end. But then I dove into it, I just cast on, did it, and did one step at a time, and I did manage to do it. I finished it, and I'm so happy with the result. And this, I cast this on as my Christmas cast on in 2023, finished it January of 2024, so almost 2 years ago. And the feeling of pride, both as I conquered the steps I was really afraid of, doing color work on the purl side, figuring out how to carry my color work threads as I was knitting back and forth, some of the leaves here with like 12 stitches where you had to just carry the yarn, and maybe most importantly, lining up the color work on the sleeves so it would match the body. The feeling when I managed to do each of those steps, and then finally when the whole thing was done and I could try it on at the first time, that still stands out so clearly in my head. It hasn't faded over time. I'm still just as proud when I think of it, when I wear this. I love wearing this out and about. If I'm going to meet knitters, if I'm going to the grocery store, every opportunity I have to show this off, I'm taking it, because it truly is a sweater I am so proud of. And I am proud of most of my sweaters, but just the fact that I really didn't believe myself that I could do this, and then I did, has just been so amazing. And that feeling of pride just never fades. And I think that's a big part of why this is a favorite of mine. I did make one modification, which I love, that I brought the color back in at the edges of the sleeves and the body. Yeah, you have these colorwork sections and then plain sections of white, but I felt like the section of white for the sleeve just got so large compared to all of the other sections, so I wanted to at least tie in the blue again. So I decided to do, I think, one row of blue and then the tubular bind off in blue, just to give it a bit of a pop of color at the end of all of that white. And I think that was a really great decision. It kind of ties it all together. It still is a really big segment of white, but getting that little pop of color, I'm really happy with that. And yeah, just the porcelain sweater was a project I looked forward to and dreaded for so long, and then I did it, and I've never achieved that feeling again since I knit this. And I'm really craving, now that I am fresh out of a knitting slump, I'm really craving that feeling again. I would love to knit something that kind of hit the same spot as the porcelain sweater did, where I almost don't believe that I'm able to make it, but then I am able to make it. So I really hope I'll find a project like that again. I don't think I have any space for it this year, because I'm pretty booked up with plans for the rest of the year, but I would love to again maybe have a sweater like this as a Christmas cast on. I have looked a little bit at the rosy sweater, that's also by Lene Holm Samsø, the same designer of the porcelain sweater, and the rosy sweater also looks really challenging in a different way than the porcelain sweater, but it almost looks more challenging, so that's something I might want to try. I've been kind of obsessed just looking at pictures of that lately, so that might be my next big challenge to myself. If you have any other good suggestions of knits that would be really challenging and kind of give the same feeling as the porcelain sweater, I would love to hear that, because I am really craving a knit like that. But to wrap it up about the porcelain sweater, I'm just going to mention the yarn I used. I did not want to use the original yarn, because the original yarn in a pattern is usually quite pricey. So for this one I decided to use Drops Flora combined with Drops Kid Silk, and that has been an amazing combo. This has been probably one of my most used sweaters for the last 2 years, and I've worn it like this, I've worn it with sweaters underneath, I've worn it with jackets over, it's gotten all kinds of wear and tear, and I can't see a single pill, nothing on the underarm, nothing anywhere, so this has held up really well, so that's a huge recommendation. I used the off-white colors for the white, so both the Flora and the Kid Silk are in off-white, and then for the blues, I know they're called denim blue and jeans blue, but I don't know which of the Flora and Kid Silk that are called which, but it's denim blue and jeans blue at least, and I'm really happy with the color combo, the sweater feel, everything of this. I'm just in love with this sweater. It is my favorite. I don't think that will ever change, but yeah, I think that's enough about my porcelain sweater, and we can move into my whips. I have started carrying this basket of whips around with me just to keep my whips in one place and have them with me, but unfortunately I have so many whips at this point that this is not all of them. this basket is quite huge and it's overflowing, and I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whips that are not in here. So you can imagine how many whips I have. I think I did a count recently, and I think I'm at 11, and that is after spending this whole week trying to get that number down. It's not going super well getting that number down, but I am making progress on a lot of whips at once. So I think give me a week or two and I'll have, I think the way I'm knitting on things now, all of them will, not all of them, but all of the ones I'm working on will kind of be done at the same time instead of getting them done like throughout the weeks. So in 1 or 2 weeks I'll hopefully probably be in a better place with my whips, but I'm going to try to go through the ones I've knit on or thought a lot about this week in the order that I've thought about them or worked on them, hopefully. But also everything's a bit of a mess, so we'll just have to pick up whatever is the easiest to pick up so I don't make more of a mess. But I did start a week of working a ton on this sweater. This is, let me put this basket down so it doesn't topple off my lap. But this is the tied sweater that I'm test knitting for iKnitKnitwear. I should have gotten a lot further on this. I feel really bad that I got the yarn and I'm test knitting this, and right as the test knit started, my knitting slump also hit. So the whole way I've kind of been behind, and this should be done by now. It definitely should be done by next week, and I still have a little bit to go. As you can see, I still have both sleeves. I still have a bit of length on the body to go, and I have the body ribbing to go. So I don't know how I'm going to be able to do that, but I really hope I'm going to be able to do that because it has been really fun test knitting this. It's a great pattern, so I really want to give back to the designer, and my job as a test knitter is to do that. So I really hope I'll be able to do that for her, but I'm starting to have some doubts. I really hoped throughout the whole process that my knitting slump would end and I would be able to pick it up and get back on track, but my knitting slump just lasted a bit too long and I haven't been able to get 100% back on track. But I did get a lot of progress done this week. I started this week off by doing the neck ribbing, just because that is a pretty easy part of any pattern. It goes by quite quickly, but it is one of the most transformative parts of the project too. It really ties the whole yoke together. It gives a very different feeling when you're trying it on after you've done the neckline, and it just doesn't take that long for how much it does in terms of this feeling more complete now. So I'm really glad I started the week off by doing that, because that gave me a lot of motivation to go on, and I think it looks so pretty now. This is the front, and then the back with the details. I also think the details stand out and look so much better now that you kind of have this ribbing tying everything together. I'm so excited to finish this so I can finally wear it. I also haven't tried it on since I did the neckline, so I really hope I'll be able to do that before this podcast comes out. I am in love with how this is looking so far, and the yarn is just amazing. It's so beautiful. I love all of the speckles throughout. I don't know how well they pick up on camera, but it is so cute. And then after I did the neckline, I got a lot of motivation, so I dove straight in on working on the body, and then I worked on the body until I ran out of wound up hanks. Hello!
Hi.
I was really motivated to work on the body, and I worked through all of my wound up hanks, but when I was through with those, it takes so long to wind them up, and so I haven't gotten any further. But I have wound up almost all of the hanks since then, but then my time went to that instead of knitting. But I think I got almost 10 centimeters done. This is like my weekly marker, which also has helped me get some more motivation, but this is about the length I got done, which was quite a lot, more than half of what I'd done on the body so far. So I think we're nearing the point where I have to start measuring to see when I need to do the ribbing. So we are really getting somewhere, but I don't know if we're getting there fast enough. I really hope so. But as I said, I at least now have wound up the yarn. I think I have 2 more hanks of alpaca to get through, but after that the only thing that's left to do then is to just knit. So hopefully that means that I'll be able to finish this by next week. I would love to come back next podcast and be wearing this. My big dream was to have this as my fall sweater, and it is still technically fall, but we also had some extreme weather last week, which just loads of wind, and that has pretty much blown away all of our fall leaves, so it doesn't look much like fall anymore. And also when I look back at pictures from the last couple of years, we've had snow almost all of the years at this point, so I don't think I have that much left of fall. So I would love to be able to finish this soon so I could still get a little taste of fall in it at least. But yeah, that is my tight sweater. Hopefully this is the last time you see it on my needles. I don't know where I'm going to go from here. I just ran out of my skein of alpaca too while I was working on the body, so now the question is if I'm going to just work on the body until that's done, or if I'm going to take a break from the body and work on the sleeves. I don't know what would be most motivating and what would make this go by faster, so that's something I'm going to have to decide on soon, but that is the state of the tight sweater for now. And then I worked on that pretty much all the way up until Wednesday, and I had decided that from Wednesday until next Wednesday I'm going to work on slippers. I have a huge slipper project. Basically everyone I know is getting slippers for Christmas. I think I decided on that in June, late June or July, and I did so well with my deadline knitting and slipper knitting for about a month. I got 30% of the way through approximately, and then I just hit a wall. I had so many other deadlines, and then I had a knitting slump, and it's just been put to the side. But it's about just over 60 days until they need to be done if I'm going to ship them in time, and I still have about 30 pairs left, so I really needed to dedicate a whole week to just knitting slippers and nothing else, just to see what's doable in a week. How many can I knit in just 1 week? Because if I can only knit 1 or 2 slippers in a week, then it's just not doable anymore. But if I can knit at least 5, then it's still very much doable. So it's just a kind of challenge to myself to see what is still doable when it comes to these Christmas gifts. So I started that on Wednesday, and I've just been knitting away. On Wednesday I did not get to do much because it's also fall break this week, so my mom and sister, my mom's a teacher, so she has time off and my sister has time off, so they wanted to do stuff. So on Wednesday we went on a hike with my mother that took the whole day, and the weather is not really great for knitting outside anymore, so I just got to cast on that day. But I did get to work quite a lot on Thursday, and I have been able to knit quite a lot on slippers during the evening, and I haven't been that happy with the speed of which I've been able to knit slippers with the first pair. I cast on these first because I don't have this. I'm knitting all of them in Droppsnibal, if you don't know from before, and I don't have this much of this yellow ochre color, so I thought I would start with a pair of these because then maybe I'll get all of the ochre color out of my stash during the week of slippers. And these did not progress as fast as I'd like. These are also adult size slippers. I think these are sized 38 to 39. But I think the main reason why they didn't progress as fast as I'd liked is because the last time I knit slippers, I had knit like one, basically every 5 days, every 4 days or something. So I was very into the pattern. I knew how to do everything, and I just sped through. I didn't have to read the pattern all of the time, but now it's been almost 2 months. So I had to stop and read the pattern a lot more, and that slowed me down. And of course, doing everything else you do in one day slowed me down. So I was not really happy with how long these took me. I think they took me almost 2 days. But at the end of these, I was kind of back in the loop when it came to slippers. And also the next on my list, I also have a priority list on my goal app. My goal app is also where I check everything off, and that tells me the percentages. When I finished those slippers, I'm actually at 33% now, which means 1/3. I'm really happy to finally have that checked off. And then I started on these slippers. These are one of the last child size slippers. These are in size 31 to 32. These are in the color Forget Me Not. And I started these last evening, and I just have the toe left on the second one of these slippers, and then this is done. And then I think each pair of slipper gives me approximately 2% towards my goal. So after this, I'll be at about 35% of my goal, which feels really great. And this has also taken me just about 12 hours. And then I have one more child size, and then the rest are adult size. So they will take me a bit longer, but I'm back in, I think. This will be my second pair, and I still have quite a lot of days left until Wednesday. I asked my husband how many pairs he thinks I can do, and first he thought I meant like single, like this is one slipper and this is one slipper, and then I think he said 8 after that first pair of the yellow slippers there, so 4 more pairs, so 5 in total. I would love to be able to reach that. Obviously, my dream is if I was able to make 7, because that means that I'm able to make approximately 1 a day, and then I really don't have to stress. But no matter what, knitting these slippers gets me closer to the goal, and that's like the main thing. And then I'm just excited to see how many I'm actually able to do in a week, just to see how I need to plan my time going forwards. I would also like to get my percentage as close to 50% as possible, because then I would have less left to do than I've already done. That would also be great. And another goal, I have a lot of different goals for this week. I would also love to be able to empty out this this shelf. All of that is, it's so hard to point, but all of this is Drops Nepal yarn for slippers. I have a lot of the yarn for the slippers. I think I still have about 8 kilos worth of yarn to get through for the Christmas gifts. I would love to get through that, because I think the slipper yarn is one of the main reasons why my stash gets messy so easily, because I don't have space for all of this other yarn because of the slippers. This, let me see if I can show you. This cabinet door behind me here too is also filled with slipper yarn, so just getting through slippers would be great for all aspects, also for me not having to stress so much. So slipper knitting is basically what it's about now, all the way until next Wednesday, and then I'm excited to share how many slippers I was really able to get through. And then, so that's both one finished project and a whip. And then, even though my cat's very clingy right now, here she is. She's also the reason why the camera has been moving now, because she's just been circling my feet. But I have said to myself that this from Wednesday to Wednesday is just going to be all about slippers, but then I'm also working on another deadline for a baby gift, and that baby is coming really soon. So I just really wanted to finish the baby gift, and this week I did actually frog the pants I was going to give for those baby gift, because I have mentioned it a little bit before, but the knits I was working on right before my knitting slump and trying to work on throughout my knitting slump, I'm really struggling to get myself to work on those, and those pants especially just made me hate kind of everything about knitting and made me not want to work on any of my projects. I was playing yarn chicken with it. I was not really happy with the color of the yarn. I would rather use the yarn for something else. Just nothing about it was working out the way I wanted, so I frogged that, and now I've started working on new pants. These are the Willums overalls, which I think are my favorite pants. I really like the chunky rib pants, which are the ones I frogged. Frogging them were also great because I got one project less, and I don't think I would have ever picked them back up. But I think the Willums is the number one pattern for me. They are by Petiteknit. I'm knitting the size 4 to 6 months. I really enjoy when giving baby gifts, especially for babies born during the fall or winter, to give not the smallest size in the pattern, but the next to smallest size, because then you like get around to being a parent and remembering everything else in life before the clothes are too small. It's so easy to just forget to use baby clothes before they are too small, so I try to size up at least one size. So the smallest size in this pattern is 2 to 4 months, so I decided to do 4 to 6 months. And I'm using, I never remember the name of this yarn. I'm using superfine merino wool from Knit at Home. I've already used this yarn to knit a stormy weather hat for this baby, and this is now the last thing left for this baby gift to be complete. I really enjoy when I give a baby gift to like give a hat, give socks, and then one pair of pants and a sweater or cardigan or something, or some sort of thing to wear on top. And I thought that I had a sweater left to do as well, but I've gone through my gift drawer, and then I've also gone through, I have a full basket here of knits I haven't woven in ends on. Let's just not mention that, but I did go through that as well, and I found a sweater in there, so I'm going to give that away because that also fits with the color theme and the sizes of everything else. So now I only have the Willums left to go, and that's why I've decided to work on those, even though I'm supposed to just work on slippers, because it would be really nice for just every aspect. It would be nice to get the baby gift done in time. It would be nice to have one less deadline to worry about, and I've also decided to not, while I'm still in this limbo phase after my knitting slump, I've decided to not worry myself about weaving in ends, but finishing gifts like this means that I'm going in, I'm getting all of the finished projects. So for this one there is a bloomer that I haven't woven in ends on, and a sweater and some socks, and then of course the Willums and the hat. All of those are projects I haven't woven in ends on yet, so I'm going to just get those out of there through giving them away like that. So I think that that's the way I'm going to do it going forward, that I'm going to weave in ends when I really feel I have a reason to, and I have the motivation to do it, instead of forcing myself to weave in ends, because most of the projects in here are from my scrap challenge that I had in August, and I think 90% of them are going to end up in my gift drawer, so I'm not on a time crunch for most of those projects. They can probably stay with the ends not woven in for at least a year, probably 2. So I decided that I'm going to weave in ends on them when they're actually needed, instead of stressing myself out about that too. But yeah, the Willums are, I've just barely started on them, but I have started and it was really fun to do just this little bit. It's been surprisingly long since I've knit a pair of Willums. I don't think I've knit a pair of Willums since maybe January of this year, and I think that's the longest I've gone without knitting a pair of Willums since I got the pattern 5 years ago, which is crazy, but it's been really nice to do it again. But those are the projects that I have been working on this week, and then I have one project that I haven't worked on this week, but that I've tried so hard to get to work on this week, and that is the Marius sweater for my husband. I think I started on this a month ago, maybe. I really hope to have this done for his birthday, the 8th of November, but I'm losing more and more hope by the day. My start goal was to have both his and mine finished by his birthday. I don't know how that's going to work out. I still have hope, but I don't think the hope is as realistic anymore. But I have tried to work on it this week because it is, for now, a really simple stockinette in the round sweater, just as mindless as it gets. So I've thought that this should be the perfect project to take with me places when I'm going somewhere where I can just knit a little bit here and there. But every time I've brought this as my project to just knit on a little bit here and there, I haven't done any knitting here and there, so I have not been able to work on this. But my biggest wish is to start working on this again. I just need to finish the tight sweater, and then this will get all the attention in the world, also the slippers of course, but I really hope that I'll at least be able to finish this sweater for my husband's birthday. I think I've given him a sweater for his birthday almost all of the years we've been together. I really like that as a tradition. I don't know if he likes it as much because he feels like he has enough sweaters. But I found kind of a cheat code to that because he loves a good family match. So last year for his birthday he got the melange sweater, which me and our son already had, and he was over the moon about that. And this year during Easter I knit my son a Marius sweater, and that's become one of my husband's favorite sweaters to dress him in. So I got the yarn for me and my husband to make us like the traditional Marius sweaters. So I think that would be a huge hit. I just actually need to find the time to do it. But yeah, those are the projects. And then of course I have a lot more whips, but there is only so many whips I can work on in a week or think about, fill my head with during 1 week. So that's what I was able to do and think about this week. Hopefully I'll come back stronger. The podcasts lately have been really short, but as I'm trying to figure out my creative mojo again and figuring out knitting again, I have finally figured out how to actually do knitting again and enjoy it again. But it's been difficult to kind of figure out how much I can do before it's too much. And while I figure that out, I think the podcasts are just unfortunately going to be a bit short, but hopefully we are getting to the end of it. The knitting slump is over, and now I just really need to get all of my creative juices back. I really hope they come back soon. I think removing some of the deadlines so I can just start working on the knits I find really fun will help a lot, but I also really need to do the deadlines because I don't like to leave deadlines, just give up on them. But yeah, that's how we're doing so far. I really think and hope that by next week I'll be at a much better place with my whips. Hopefully I'll be at a better place with my deadlines first of all, but I'll also hopefully have less whips. That is my biggest dream and goal. I have so many whips now that are so far from being done, and as I said, I have 11 now. I would love to have less than 5. I don't think we'll get to less than 5 for next week, but hopefully before October ends at least I'll be at 5 or under with my whips. And I don't know, because I really want to cast on a couple of different projects, and that might help with my creativity, but then I also don't want to boil my head with too many whips. Casting on projects is one of the most fun things with knitting. For me, I love the feeling of a new project and a new pattern and just deep diving into that. But having too many projects already on my back, already taking up my mind space, kind of ruins some of that joy. So I really hope that for some of the projects I am so excited about, that I have gotten rid of some whips before I do them, so I can like just bask in the glory of a new project without having to think about deadlines. But I think that's the last thing I'm going to say. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, even though they are a bit short lately. If you did, please leave a like and a comment. That means the absolute world to me. And if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!